One of the biggest moments in cinema history is the time when Darth Vader saved Luke Skywalker in Star Wars. This scene was truly an epic sci-fi moment. But why did Vader save Luke, on the surface? The answer may seem obvious, a father saving a son, but I don't think it's that clear-cut by any stretch of the imagination. Let me explain why. But before I do, if you can press that like button, and if you're new, please subscribe, thanks. Let's start with the history of Darth Vader when he was Anakin Skywalker. We'll find our answers there. To understand Anakin Skywalker, we must understand the psychology of the family. The family dynamic is a powerful structure that helps create the greatest opportunity for a stable life. Now, this is not to knock a single family, or anyone that grew up without a father, but the facts are, the more stable a family is, the more opportunity the individuals that grew up in that family would inherit that stability. Enter in Anakin Skywalker. Anakin Skywalker's life was rough, and that's putting it nicely. He grew up in the backlands without a father and lived with his mother Shmi Skywalker. The two of them barely scraped out a life together on the planet Tatooine. I want to focus on Anakin growing up without a father, because this part of Anakin's life could be glossed over in the Star Wars lore. Contrary to popular belief, fathers are a central part of a family's stability, because they add a dynamic to the family structure that is priceless. Here are a few psychological scars that could develop in a family that has no father. This information comes from the Child Development Children Bureau. It states that fatherless children have more difficulties with social adjustments, and are more likely to report problems with friendships, and manifest behavior problems, underlying fears, resentments, anxieties, and unhappiness. Some of these factors could have contributed to Anakin's chaotic impulsive behavior. I would like to say things get better for Anakin, but as the story goes and unfolds, it doesn't. Things take a drastic turn for the worst when Anakin loses his mother Shmi Skywalker. But it wasn't the fact that she died that would be traumatizing for Anakin, but it would be how and where she died that would have the biggest impact on destroying Anakin's psyche. The situation was compounded because, not only was his mother enslaved, she was tortured to death by her captive, and died in Anakin's arms. It doesn't take much of an imagination to see what this would do to an individual. No father, and now a mother that passed away under the most horrific circumstances. Before I go on, I want to state, just because a person has a hard life or faces traumatizing moments doesn't mean they're somehow destined to make decisions that are detrimental to those around them or for themselves. Everybody has a choice. Even if that choice to make is harder than others, it's still a choice. Let's go on. As time passes, we see Anakin as a young man, but with the passage of time it becomes more apparent how the mental scars of his childhood has started to affect him in his adult life. This problem becomes more glaring when he starts his training as a Jedi. Because Anakin lacked the proper parental guidance, it's only natural that he would seek a substitute for what he sorely longed for. And this is where things start to get very interesting, and two characters take front and center stage in Anakin's life. The first would be Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the second is Senator Palpatine, aka the Emperor. A quick side point, Padme Amidala was a very important person in Anakin's life, but she wasn't the parental father figure he was looking for. He did love her dearly, but that love wasn't enough to stop him from spiraling into darkness. This brings us to Obi-Wan Kenobi. He was tasked with the responsibility of training young Anakin Skywalker, but it became clear that Obi-Wan did not understand how deep the scars were from Anakin's troubled childhood. Obi-Wan did take on a mentoring position, but that mentoring position was in the category of teacher and student. Of course, this will not be enough for Anakin because a teacher must always maintain some sort of distance between the student. This would exacerbated the problem with Anakin because he wanted that missing father figure in his life. This brings us to Senator Palpatine. He was intelligent, highly manipulative, deceptive, and cunning. Being a Sith Lord allowed him to tap into dark powers, allowing him to see the scars within Anakin. But instead of healing the wounds, it allows him to prey upon Anakin and his weaknesses. Palpatine saw within Anakin the longing for a father figure. Of course, Senator Palpatine was more than willing to step up and fill that position of a false fatherly figure, giving Anakin the appearance of something kind and caring, but in reality was the ultimate predator in disguise. As Senator Palpatine started to manipulate young Anakin Skywalker into more desperate situations, Palpatine used psychological tactics to prey on Anakin's fears, and to rip his mind apart, preparing him for his fall into darkness. Due to the fact that Anakin was psychologically damaged as a child, he was surely unprepared for the tactics used by Senator Palpatine. The sad fact was that Anakin found great comfort in the Senator's advice, believing him to be that father figure that he so desperately needed during the hard times he was facing with the Jedi. As time went by and the more Anakin relied upon Palpatine, a warped sort of loyalty formed. This loyalty would grow into absolute obedience, the beginning of Darth Vader. As time passes, Anakin would prove his absolute loyalty to the Emperor by committing some of the most horrific acts in the Star Wars lore. Here are just a few acts of his horrific brutality. Anakin goes to the Jedi Temple and kills everyone he can find. As it turns out, everyone includes younglings. Younglings are children around 7 or 8 years old, who lived in the temple and studied to be Jedi. He would even eventually kill Obi-Wan, his mentor and teacher, without any remorse. Vader's ruthlessness knew no bounds. During his killing spree he would slaughter countless others, including women and children, without any mercy. His loyalty to the Emperor doesn't stop there. During many of his battles, Vader received horrific battle scars. For instance, he lost both legs around the knees and much of his left arm. Plus his body was burnt and his lungs were scorched by hot gases. All to be replaced with some kind of cybernetics. All this to show his loyalty to the Emperor. So, this brings us back to Luke Skywalker. And why did Darth Vader save him? Even though Luke was his son, how much weight would that really hold? Darth Vader already proved that he would kill family, friends, countless others begging for their life, and even children, all to demonstrate his loyalty to the Emperor. He even went as far to force choke his own wife Padme, a woman he desperately loved. Now he brings his only son to the Emperor, knowing that he would probably be converted into something monstrous. So the question still stands, why did he save his son? The answer, I believe, is a combination of Luke's unconditional love for Anakin, his father, even though Luke didn't really know him, and the Emperor's betrayal of Darth Vader's loyalty to the Emperor. This all came about when Vader lost to Luke. That loss started a chain reaction of events. But it wasn't the fact that Vader lost to Luke that would trigger that event. It would be what the Emperor says next that would. The Emperor tells Luke, standing over Vader, his father, "Strike your father down and take his place by my side." In other words, the loyalty that Darth Vader had for the Emperor did not have for Vader. The father figure Anakin believed in essence showed himself to be what he was, a heartless psychopath. This betrayal of Vader cuts deeper than the Emperor could ever realize. Vader, who gave up his body, mind, and soul for the Emperor, was so easily replaced. The Emperor once again showed his lack of understanding of the situation because of his overconfidence and evil inclinations. Vader wasn't loyal to the Sith cause like the Emperor. He was loyal to the Emperor because he was a father figure he always wanted. When the Emperor betrayed him, discarding him aside so easily after all he's done for him. This betrayal of Vader was a moment of clarity for him. It figuratively freed him from the contractual obligation of affection for Palpatine. This action finally seemed to reach Anakin's heart, awakening him from his dark slumber. Seeing his son for the first time, whose loyal love was complete and given freely. A son who did not know him but whose actions spoke louder than countless emperors. All this was enough for him to save his son's life. This was one of those powerful moments where he saw the two forms of love, genuine and fake. He made the choice. In conclusion, Luke was saved not because of a sword or because the Force. He won this battle because he saw who his father really was, behind his mask, the cybernetics, and into Anakin's heart. That is why the real hero turned out to be Vader, because he was able to conquer himself, freeing himself from the shackles of self-destruction and darkness. It was a monumental accomplishment, but it was done not through the Force, light or dark, but the most powerful force there is in the universe, love. Tell me what you think, guys, below about Vader and Luke. Thanks for listening.